podcast. This is my fortnightly vlog about knitting, crochet, macrame, sewing, anything else that seems like a good idea at the time. You can find me on Instagram as Mel Brown Crafting Podcast. On Ravelry I'm Funky40, and there is a group for this podcast on Ravelry, which is where you'll find the show notes. So anything I talk about today that you'd like to know more about, just click on the link below. It'll take you over to Ravelry where you can have a look at all the links to everything. So, as you can see, we are joined by not one, but two furry co-hosts today. This is Clyde. He's my old man. He is about 15, 14, something like that. And my little young Shiloh. And the big bully is asleep over there. She might put in an appearance later. Let's get started. First thing is, where are they now? What happened to the projects that you've already seen? So the first one I'm going to talk about is the bee pyjama case. So last time I showed it to you, the face was a little bit scary. It's one of the things I find hardest with making character things like soft toys or whatever, is getting the face so that it looks nice and not grotesque. And I hadn't achieved it last time, so I took it along to Knit Group and we took it apart and we got it looking a bit better. And since then I've added on antennae as well. So here is it looking how it looks at the moment. So it is, oh, Clyde wants to have a sniff. It is wonky, but it's not. Actually, it looks even more wonky there than it does in real life. Oh my goodness. The main problem is the antennae. How do the pom-poms, how on earth are the pom-poms meant to not pull it down? I'll show you what it looks like in the picture. So this is what it looks like. Ooh. So I get it so it's not blowing out. So, oh, that's better. So you can see how the pom-poms are pulling the antennae down, but not to the extent that mine are. It kind of looks like pigtails, don't you think? Yeah. And you'll probably notice these are a little bit bigger than those, for sure. Oh no, I can't get so you can see that. They are a bit bigger, but I actually don't know how, even if they were smaller, that these parts would actually hold it up. So I don't know what I've done wrong there. But my daughter likes it, and that is actually all that actually matters. Actually. So there he is with his face, and the rest of him's done. I've been using this cheap and cheerful acrylic yarn in black and red, obviously. Black and yellow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's not my stomach, that's the hot water bottle that Shiloh is sitting on, in case you can hear it rumbling. So yeah, that's what I'm using for it. And yeah, it's okay. Everything else is done. I think I was just finishing the first wing, so when I spoke to you last. So I've done both wings now, and everything else, the paws, feet, don't know what you call them with the bees, they were done. So really, oh, I've run into some ends because it was looking a bit shaggy. And I sewed on the button. I think I showed you the button, but I didn't show it sewn on. So that's, I think all the knitting's done now. There's his actual body with a button there. So the idea is, for those of you who haven't come across a pyjama case before, the head and the legs will go on here, the wings, and then the bottom legs will go on there. And then you'll be able to open it up. She'll be able to open it up and put her PJs in, and then close it up. When I was a kid, pyjama cases were quite common. Then obviously not now, because when I said it to my children, they were like, what's that for? And a lot of people since have, so I don't know if it's just a generational thing or whatever, but it's basically something cute that lives in her bed and looks after her PJs when she's not wearing them. It's designed to be cuddly, and it's soft, and because it's acrylic, it will be easily washable. So that's not far off being finished. Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with that, but they're very soft, my kids. They like you know, videos of cats with 3 legs, and you know, they're very they like things that are wonky and not right. They find them cute, so I think little B will be okay. So as regards works in progress, I still have the hibernating 3, and this one is still in progress, so that's 4. It's in my Mad as a Hatter bag. So that's my 4th work in progress. My next work in progress is my Sisters from Different Misters socks. So these were socks that I was making with this lovely yarn in 2 balls that I thought, because they're 50-gram balls, I thought they were the same colourway. Turns out they're not. One was colourway 10 and one was 15. So I don't mind non-matching. In fact, I prefer it, I think. So they're finished. Here they are. You've seen most of it. Let me see if I can get it closer and you can see the colours. So I'd said last time that I'd stupidly not changed yarns for the heel, because then you get this sharp change at the front. Worked fine with that one, not with that one. So I got this dark line, and because there's some pearl stitches in it, you've got these lines underneath, which I really don't like, but that's okay. That's okay. So I went from, they're just a very standard, just my sock pattern, but the stitch pattern I used was a 4x4 garter rib. I didn't explain this very well last time, one of my friends said. So it's a very simple pattern for the top of the foot and all the ankle. The first round you knit 4, purl 4 all the way around. The second round you just knit every stitch. So that gives you a rib of garter and stocking stitch, and it was a 4x4, and what I did at the top there was I just did a quick little twist which made it into a 2x2, and the 2x2 rib went to the top. I made it a little bit longer than I usually do because I want to wear them with my boots. So very simple, 2.75mm needle, 64 stitches, German short row heel, that's it. So that is my September socks for the Boxer Socks Cal. I'm not sure I'm going to make it through that Cal, but I'll come back to that in a bit. So that's Yarngasm. You do 12 pairs of socks just for you during the year, and you put them in a box, you don't wear them, and then in a Christmas or at the end of the year or whatever, you get your gift to you. So that's the September ones. I've still got 3 left to do this year. Okay, so that is a finished object. Done. Right. Next is my present for my brother. So true, look away until this time. What's it called? Time stamp. Whatever, anyway, pull the little circle along till it gets to there. Oh, Clyde's back. He's got wet feet. He's been outside. Do you get this? He's been outside and he's got wet feet. And he just wants to sit on me and get rid of it all. Thank you, Clyde. Okay. So this is a cushion cover for my brother who is colourblind and my sister-in-law who is not. So, colours. Right, Clyde, you're going to get in the way there. Where were we up to last time? I put a little progress keeper in and I can't find it. There it is. So, sorry, am I in the middle of a row? I am. Dear me. This is where I was up to last time. So it's got bigger. Oh my God. Oh. Did you see what just happened? Last time he did that, the whole thing fell down. Cats! Never work with them. I'm going to move my tea because if he knocks that down, that's going to go everywhere. This is my, I forgot today, sour cherry. Taylors of Harrogate, being as I live 10 miles from Harrogate, it would be rude not to, wouldn't it really? That is nice. It's got a little bit of aniseed in it though, which is a little off-putting, but you can smell it more than taste it. But right, okay. Sorry about that. So where are we? Nomad by Fate. So this is a pattern by Martin up north, who is a talented crochet designer. A very beautiful visual thing. You can see that the pattern, oh, I don't know, when I first looked at it I didn't kind of look at, oh look, it's going back in again there, and how, no, you just look at the whole thing and it's just so beautiful. So it's the stitch is the Apache Tears, which you may have come across before. I'd certainly come across it lots and had wanted to try it, and then this came up and I thought, yeah, this is it, I'm going to give this a go. The pattern is tremendous. It's that lovely mixture between easy enough to get the hang of so that you don't have to look at the pattern every 5 minutes, but not boring. Consider to say it's pretty much all back loop only, single US single, UK double crochets. You don't get bored because you've got these special stitches, and I don't know, it's beautiful, and the yarn is lovely. I've gone on about it before for you long sufferers. It's Scapius Calista, and it is cotton. It's 100% cotton, isn't it? Yeah. Double gassed. Does anybody know what that means? Double gassed cotton. Can't breathe, I've been gassed. Oh, that's in bad taste, sorry. There it is, and it's very splitty. So as I'm crocheting with it, it splits very readily. I never can get that to show. So when you're putting your hook into the stitch or when you're pulling your hook through, quite often the yarn splits. So it's not ideal, but it's kind of more than made up for really by that. I mean, I just find the colours stunning. So I was roughly halfway through that part. Obviously not halfway through the stitches because it's growing, but and I've got about 7 rounds left, I think. The option in the pattern is to do a back as well, but I think I'm going to do a fabric back, just really because I just think this is so stunning. Why have something stunning on the back as well? It's going to be, I guess you could have different colours, but my local yarn store only had these colours, and I'm not going to go somewhere else. So, so I'm just going to do a fabric back. If I can get somebody to help me work out how to do that. So there we go. Almost done. Expect that'll be done by the time I talk to you again. Really, really love it. Everybody I show it to is like, wow. Okay. Welcome back, sister-in-law. So come back. That was whip number 5. Work in progress number 5. So, next one. The Fortunes Shawlette. This is a really simple crochet pattern, and I was using with it this gorgeous yarn, Tula. So you can see from there it's our baby alpaca. I mean, you know, baby alpaca and then a little bit of silk and a little bit of cashmere. And that's who it's from. Northshire Yarns, which is Annika, who's based in Harrogate near me. She's fab. And this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. So it's finished, and I think it was nearly finished when I spoke to you before, but I've had it blocked as well. I'm not very good at blocking, so my wonderful friend Andrea blocked it for me. Look at that. Now, I didn't do the edging that it suggested. Last episode, you can go back and have a look at that if you fancy. I made a dog's dinner of the edging, in that I had too much yarn left over and then not enough, and then I thought, oh God, not doing that again. So I just did a very simple 3 single US single UK doubles, and then 3 chains and slip stitch back in the same stitch for the edge. So that's how it's looking on. I love it. I really do. I took it to Knit Group last week, and one of the ladies there put it on, as you do, you know, you hand it around at Knit Group and everybody has a smoosh and she had it draped around like that and then wrapped like that, and it looked really lovely. So yeah, it's big enough to wear in a multitude of different ways. One of the things I find frustrating about scarves is they tend to slip around and fall off, but there's plenty of length here to just tie a little knot so the little fella isn't going anywhere. And it's just like a little kerchief thing. This is the thing for me. My neck gets cold and my shoulders here, and if my neck and my shoulders are warm, I won't get cold. Now, admittedly, at my stage of life, I'm more likely to be getting too hot than too cold. I got that wonky. But when I am cold, I'm miserable, so it's perfect. And just the feeling of warmth you get from it, it's not like making me too hot, but it's just feeding back the warmth from my neck, and it's just making me feel snugly. And oh, when you're working on it, just the feel. And you know, I've been gassing on about splitty yarns. This doesn't split, so you can crochet at any speed you like. It doesn't split, which is just perfect for me. So I've loved using the yarn. It is the bee's knees. Annika has an Etsy shop, and she also sells via some retailers. So my local yarn shop, Yarn Etc., carries her yarn. In fact, she does some special colourways just for them, which is quite exciting. And for a luxury yarn, it's actually a very reasonable price. I paid £19 for this. And you long sufferers will have heard me moaning about going down to the posh shops and spending a lot of money on yarn that I'm not really sure if it's overpriced. But this is a gorgeous luxury yarn, and it is a very reasonable price. So there you go. Okay, so that is finished. I'm going to keep that on for a little bit until I get too hot. So that's all of the Where Are They Nows. So now let's show you some new whips on the block. New projects I've started since I last spoke to you. So we're going to start with my October socks for the Box of Socks Cow. This is a pattern called Opus 400. Now you might know that I have, me and my friend Linda design patterns. To be honest, Linda does most of the designing. She's the person with the inspiration, and I do a little bit of legwork when I can be bothered because I'm a bit lazy. But one of the first patterns we ever did was called Opus 400, and it's a feather and fan pattern. Linda wrote it, and it was really, she wrote it for a competition. I can't remember what it was now, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it was really popular. I knitted a pair, which I love, and I decided to knit another pair. So that's what I'm doing here. Now we come to the yarn. This is really weird. Oh, that's a McDonald's receipt in my bag. I must have had my, oh, we called in for McFlurries the other day, and I must have had my knitting with me. Okay, so this is the yarn I'm using. So it's Blue Moon Fibre Arts, Socks That Rock, and I'm completely confused by it. So it's a sock yarn, Socks That Rock, but it's 100% superwash merino, so it's got no nylon in it, which, you know, is unusual, but I get that. It says lightweight, so it's sock yarn lightweight. So I'm thinking light fingering, something like 3-ply. I don't know what terms you use, but that's the term I would use. So standard 4-ply fingering sock yarn, you'd expect about 400 meters for 100 grams, give or take a little bit. Well, this is 146 grams skein. I didn't realise that when I bought it. So if it was standard sock weight, you'd be expecting, it's roughly 1.5 of 400, which is roughly 600 meters, right? You keeping up with me? And then it's light fingering, so you're thinking maybe a bit more than that. But no, 370 meters. I don't understand. I don't understand what weight it is. For that works out at about 100 and, I don't know, I can't even think right now, but it's not a standard sock weight. It looks like a much heavier weight, something like a sport. I don't know. You can see my confusion, and I'm going off on a tangent again. I don't understand. Somebody explain it to me. But anyway, I looked on Ravelry at what people have done with this, and they've done socks, and it's fine. So I've done socks. So this is they. The colourway is Ginger Plumlicious, And as you can see, oh god, the light's terrible. So we've got purples, deep lights, all kinds of purples, and then some kind of brown, that's the ginger I guess, stripes as well. And you can see, I guess, better on the stockinette. So the pattern is really pretty. I love feather and fan. I know it's a very traditional thing. I love it. So with this pattern, you've got a 4 round pattern. The first round is where you do all the lace. There's the knit 4 together, which is quite a challenging stitch. So the previous round you need to knit those stitches quite loosely. Then there's a simple knit and purl round, and then there's 2 plain rounds. So it's got a little bit of interest, but a lot of the time you can just cruise. And even the little bit of interest round, you can very easily memorise that. So it's not difficult to do, but it's a bit more interesting than plain stockinette. When we wrote that pattern, oh my god, was it 2013 or something like that? It's quite a long time ago. And I know a lot more about sock knitting than I did then. So I wrote the toe up pattern. Linda wrote the cuff down, and then I adapted it for toe up. So I've used her heel, and the increase I've used in the toe is not what I would use now. So I'm knitting it kind of by my own current sock recipe. So I'm going to do a German short row heel and all that stuff. The fabric, you know, it's a high twist yarn, this as well. That's probably why it's okay without nylon. Can you see? Oh, I thought I had it for a minute there. I see people cover up the face. Is that? Yeah, you can see the twist there. So you can see it's quite high twist. I guess that's why you don't need nylon in, right? And it feels really strange. It feels almost soapy because it's kind of slippery. It's really weird, and it's dense. The fabric is dense, so that does lead me to believe that it is thicker than a sock weight. Anyway, whatever. I'll stop rambling on about that now. So that is whip number 6. Right, next one. If you've watched before, you might know that last year I did a little bit of teaching for my local yarn shop, Yarn Etc. in Harrogate. I taught a Tunisian crochet course amongst others. And that's something that we're going to do again. So Fiona, who runs Yarn Etc., has come up with a plan. So this is the pattern. It's a scapious pattern designed to use one of their whorls. If you haven't seen the whorls, let me show you. They're basically gradient yarns, which are obviously the thing of the moment. And there's quite a lot of choice. So what I'm doing is I am making this, and then when it's made, I'm going to do a course on it. So you can come along for a half day, you get your whorl, you get your pattern. If you haven't got a Tunisian crochet hook, you get one of those as well. And then we work together on the pattern, get you during that half day to the stage where you can carry on your own. And basically you end up with this beautiful shawl. So that's the concept. The pattern is called Exclamation Shawl by Fiona Kelly. And this is the whorl that I've got. It's called Sherbet Rainbow, I believe. Oh, it's so soft. It is really, really soft. It's 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. So it's got drape and it's got softness. It's absolutely beautiful. And you can see how they do the slow shift. There's 4 plies in it, and they just change one at a time. It's actually 1,000 meters, this cake, which is 225 grams, well, roughly 250 to 225 grams, but 1,000 meters. So it's about the equivalent of roughly 2.5 skeins of sock yarn usually. So there it is. Oh, my daughter bought this for me. Oops. So cute. You read that. She's so sweet. Okay, so where am I at? I'm at this. So we started with the just blue, and again the teal wall, it's fading into it and it's going slightly green. You can just see where the transition is. I like to, when I'm not working on it, I like to leave it with all the stitches on because it's much easier to move it around. So you've got this detail at the beginning, which is called a double eyelet, and the rest of it is worked in crossed stitches. So in Tunisian crochet, a cross stitch, instead of working one stitch at a time, you work in pairs. So you come to a pair and you knit the further one away and then you knit the closer one. So you get this crossed appearance. And those 2 stitches, you'll cross them again the next time. You don't cross with the next pair, you just keep them in pairs and you cross them all the way up. And we're increasing at this end, and we're going to get to about 150 stitches, which will easily fit on this hook. So that's where it's going. It's quite slow because the cross stitch isn't straightforward, because once you've done that furthest away stitch, the one in between is sometimes quite difficult to get hold of, and you have to work quite loosely. If you work tightly, then that second stitch is very difficult to get hold of. So it's not the easiest of projects, but the thing it gives you is this drape. It's really good because yeah, the stitch and the fabric, the yarn just gives it this lovely drape, and it's gonna obviously get longer. I'm only just not even halfway into the green, and we've got to go through the green to the pink, through the yellow, so there's lots and lots left to go. So I'm enjoying it, and I've got through the tricky bits because that stitch I hadn't come across before, and I think Scopius must have designed that stitch because there isn't really any help for it on the internet, so I had to experiment a bit with it, but it is lovely. I mean, it's just a cute little detail. So that is going really well, quite happy with that, but that's going to be plodding away now. I have to go speak to Fiona and see when we're going to program in that course, because obviously I need to have it finished by the time I teach it, but so I need to get that booked in. And that's in my bag that my daughter and I did together. It's got moustaches upside down. No, they're not. Rather bag, but they're upside down. And penguins. And we did those together. She did. Which one did she? I think she did that one. Yeah. So, right. That is the exclamation shawl. So that was work in progress number 7. And now we come to the final one, which is number 8. In my wonderful, always got a cowl in it bag. Let's have a look what's in here. Those of you who watched over the summer might recall that I bought a whole load of boho spirit yarns from Signet, from a lovely shop in Whitby. And there it is. This is another one of those. The one I finished last week was called Moonbeam. Moonstruck. Something like that. This one is called Deep. That's the colourway. It's purples, blues, greens. Very, very nice. So this is just a lovely, you know this one if you've watched before. Oh, it's another one of them. It's the window pane scarf, which I used to make a cowl. Very, very simple pattern, very, very quick, and it's my go-to now for taking out of the house. Always used to be a pair of socks, but at the moment just crochet is my main love. Makes a good beard. Crochet is my main love, so I take this out with me, and it really is, it's so simple. I don't have to think about it at all. So I'm only halfway through that. So as always, just cracking on with more of those. There's nobody in mind specifically for that one, but generally by the time I finished them, I know what I'm going to do with them. Do you know what, I've just realised I might have forgotten to show you. Yes, I did. I finished another cowl in between speaking to you last when I showed you the Moonbeam cowl. I have actually done another one. This one. So this colourway is Festival. Now it looks an awful lot like the first one I ever did for me, except mine I had 200 grams in it. This is only 100 grams. So I've got 5 windows in mine. This has got 4 and it wraps twice. So yeah, gosh, you know, I'm really churning these out. This one is for the lady who runs the venue that I'm having my retreats in, because she saw me wearing mine and she said, that is lovely. And then as I left, she said, that really is lovely. And I thought, I need to make you one, don't I? So that's that. That's in the boho, boho spirit as well, but it's Festival colourway. So that's another thing that I finished. Sorry, forgot to mention that. So that's my cowls. So that's all my works in progress. That brings me to 8, which is very similar. What did I have last week? 7. 7 or 8 seems to be pretty constant for me at the moment. Right, okay, let's move on. Another craft which I have got rather excited about recently is macrame. Or macrame, as my youngest daughter insists on calling it. It's funny because obviously I use both words, it doesn't bother me at all, but macrame is what we say in the UK and macrame is the American version of it. So I did a course and I showed you the wall hanging that I made, and I've just trimmed it and finished it off, so I don't need to show you that again. But since then I've made quite a bit of progress. So we were given at the course, it was a course run by Mooland Gifts, which is Amanda. Very, very good course, just totally inspired me. She also gave us to take away, as well as all of that, I'm gesturing to it as if you can see it, the wall hanging thing, which we worked on a week. I think we'd almost finished, most of us almost finished when we left. She also gave us a key ring and some more twine to take away to do a little project. And I love this. Amanda had one, I just thought, right, I definitely want one of those. So it's one of those things that it's quite hard wearing because it's cotton, and you know, you can wash it if you need to, but it just keeps, you know, where your keys are because it's hanging out and dangling, and I love this. And of course you can make them as long or as short as you want. This is very simple. If any of you who know macrame, whatever, it's a square knot and then just tassels on the end. So I've just decided this year that everybody in the family is getting a macrame key ring, so I bought a pack of them. Actually they're really, really cheap, the sets of the key ring sets, so I just bought a big bag of them, and they'll just, yeah, I'll just make those for anybody who I know. So if you know me, you're getting one for Christmas. So that was exciting. I also bought, I think all this is coming since I last saw you, some cream twine because my eldest daughter wanted a plant hanger for her bedroom, very 70s. So I've made that. This is just to hold it on so I can work on it. So it's got a twist up there, which is just half of a square knot. And then it's got, oh, you remember these. If you're my age, you must remember these. And then it comes down. I haven't been able to finish it because you really need to fit it to the pot. So she actually wants plastic pot plants because she just, like me, she tends to kill real plants. So she wants a plastic plant, and we're going to IKEA at half term, which is in a couple of weeks, and she's going to get some pots and some plastic plants, and then I can finish it off. We just need to finish it off with one of those knots at the bottom, but I need to know where to put it and work it all out from having the pot. So that's almost done. I was so impressed at how quick this was to do. Really, it's compared to knitting, you know, as a knitter, this macrame is hugely fast. And it's just a little inconvenient that you can't kind of do it sat on the sofa. But I've got some stuff set up. My very smart husband has set up. We've got a little thing that hangs over the radiator that you can hang a couple of tea towels on, and he's hung that on the banisters of the stairs. So I can attach my project to that, and when I'm working you know, near the top of it, I can have it at the top of the stairs, and then as it gets longer and I need to go further down, because of course, you know, if you're working on it at eye level, when you're working at the bottom, you're kneeling on the floor, which, you know, isn't terribly comfortable. So you would just move it down the stairs, and I could just step down the stairs, and does that make any sense to you? Anyway, it's a brilliant, genius plan of his, so I'm going to be able to use that. So that's that one, that's done. I'm going to make another one for her, because she wants two hanging from the ceiling, and we're going to get some hooks put in. So that is, I love it. I really, really enjoy it. So I bought some thinner, let's have a look, half the width. This is 4mm, this is 2mm. This is for the key rings. My daughter got so into it. I've got 3 daughters. What are they? 18, 15 and 12. And the 12-year-old is very active in everything: craft, cooking, painting, macrame, and among other things. So I got these and those key rings because we're going to together. And on our wall, we've got a little pin that's like a push pin that's pushed into the wall, and then a bit of blue tack on top of it. So you can put one of the key ring things on it. The blue tack holds it, and then you can attach your yarn, your twine, and just make a key ring with it. So it's really, really quick. And she's loving that. You know, she flits. She's quite possibly ADHD, we're not really sure, but she flits very quickly from one thing to another. She can focus on something for a long time, but she does like to move about. So she's got her paints in there. She paints squishies, you know, memory foam toy things. And then she does a bit of macrame, and she moves around a lot. So it's great to have this little project she can work on. So then I also, my friend, the artist, Sarah, she gave me this. It's a hazel twig from a tree that she had to cut down, and I'm going to do a plant hanger for her with this, and I got some white twine. Oh no, she changed her mind, that's right, I did order some white twine, but she decided she wanted teal and pink instead. So I've got some teal left over from the course, and I've got the pink, so I'm going to make her a plant hanger with those. We said that's 2mm, and the plant hanger I've made with 4mm, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know. So yeah, that I'll just kind of hang it off here, and I don't know. I'll make it up as I go along. Maybe do long bits before I join it with the square knot and then start from there. I don't know. But it's just so beautiful, isn't it? And she's going to have that in her studio, which is Brunswick Studio in Harrogate. So that's another project I've got lined up. I also wanted to do a table runner. We're always putting mats out on the table for hot dishes and stuff. I just wanted to make a runner, so I'm probably going to use that for the runner now that I'm not going to use it for Sarah's. But you see, I've got loads of projects planned, and then I also bought some even thinner 1mm twine for the key rings, because Annie wanted, my youngest, wanted to do some more intricate things, and they need thinner twine. So it's just really, I'm at the stage of experimenting with different ideas and absolutely loving it. It was just so great to get started on this new thing, so thank you, Amanda. Okay, from macrame onto sewing. A couple of episodes ago I told you that my friend Andrea was coming over to help me to make a toile, a sort of prototype top from a top that I already have, so that I can make some more myself. She did come over, and I forgot to show it to you. I'm not going to show it to you today because I haven't really made much progress with it. But I will show it to you later, but I just wanted to let you know I did do it. But I did some more sewing last week. One of the things I do is I organise, I've started a business organising knitting and crochet retreats. It's called Creative Escape. And the first retreat is next month. It's actually in 4 weeks' time, so I'm very excited. But one of the things I wanted to do to make people feel special is to give them lots of lovely treats. And I had some yarn dyed by Annika at Northshire Yarns, specially for it. I'm probably going to show you that at some point. But I want to make something with my skein first. So I had that dyed, and that's going to be a gift for people who come on the retreat. But I also wanted to make something for them. So if you go back to episode 9, I did some shibori. Is that how you pronounce it? Dyeing. So it's resistant dyeing. So where you kind of like tie-dye thing, but a bit more involved, and it's Japanese, and it's very, very impressive. So me and Dolbelly, who's Annabelle, and Amanda from Mulan Gifts, we all got together and did some dyeing together. So I've got lots of small pieces of fabric that are beautifully dyed. So I made them into drawstring bags. So this is the first one, front, back, and yeah, you're going to think, oh my goodness, Mel, I would not have chosen that lining. My colour choices and fabric choices are suspect, to say the least. But there we go. I am so cross with myself. This is the first time I've ever, on a working day, during working hours, done sewing. It's normally something I fit in on a Sunday when I can, because this is business. This is for my retreat, so I decided to pay attention to it and do it during the working day. And I found myself doing things in a much better quality. I'm a very fast and dirty sewer. It's like, get it done, it's all done. But I was cutting much more accurately, and the sewing was much easier because of it. And because I did 3 bags at a time, I was able to, you know, when you, what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. When you just run straight from one piece to the next, you don't cut off the thread and then start again. You just run straight with just a, sort of like a couple of centimetres of thread in between, and you just trim those off. So I did that, and I was able to make them all pretty quickly. One of the things, the shortcuts I always make, oh, cat's about to jump up, I'm going to hold on to the phone. Oh, there he goes. one of the shortcuts I always do is that when you turn it inside out, there's a 3-inch gap in the lining, and I never sew that up for my own bags. So, you know, potentially you could lose something in the lining if it went that way. So I actually went to the effort of sewing up the lining of these, which I was very impressed with, until I realised at this point that I had forgotten to do the flat bottom. So normally my bags, let's find one of my bags, have a flat bottom, which just makes them sit easier when you've got something in them. I had forgotten to do it, and I thought, oh well, I'll just turn them and do it, and then I thought, no, I sewed it up, didn't I? So it was just more than I could bear to unpick all of that. So the fact that I'd been so detailed meant that a bit frustrated with myself. But not everybody wants a flat bottom bag, do they? No. So these first 3 don't have flat bottoms, but I will correct that mistake for next time. Oh, that reminds me, I need to get some more ribbon. There's a lovely shop in Harrogate called Dutton's for Buttons, which does all kinds of buttons and ribbons and everything, so I'm going to go in there. Okay, the next one. This is probably my favourite. It's the same fabric on the front and back, and then the lining isn't too obnoxious, is it? Purple and red, purple and pink. This one, I don't know what you're going to make of this one. The back, that didn't work out very well. We put little beads, little ties on around a little ball, around a bead, really small. But I used some loom bands and they mostly broke, so I didn't get much on that, but that's okay. And then the inside, is that bad? I don't know, I'm not very good with colours. I think probably the purple and blue is the worst. I don't know. Anyway, so 3 bags, and I want to have 10. I don't know how many people I'm going to have on the retreat at the moment, but it probably be maximum 10. So I need to get a few more made. So that's a start. I'm really delighted. I am delighted with these because of the up in quality. They're never going to be saleable, my bags. They're just never going to be that good. And I guess I could put some interfacing in. I'm not quite sure exactly how to do that, but I have got some, so to make them a bit stiffer. But I'm really pleased with those. On to something new. I've got 2 things to show you this week. The first is to do with this. Have you seen this? Keep Yarn on Our Streets. So it's a campaign that's about persuading crafters like you and me to remember to go to a yarn shop rather than just ordering online, because yarn shops are so much more than just a place to buy yarn. They are a place to meet up with like-minded people, to touch the yarn, and we all know how important it is to touch the yarn before you buy it, and to share experiences, to share skills. And you probably know there's nothing more exciting than going to a yarn shop, particularly one you've not been to before and you get a chance to look at loads of new stuff. And those shops are under threat because of the internet, and we all do it. We all order online because it's quicker, it's easier, whatever. But the campaign is about reminding us that we need to go to those yarn shops as well. If we want them to be there when we want them, we need to be there. Does that make sense? So there are 50 yarn shops involved in this initiative across the country, and they have all been issued with these pins. Now, where's mine? My local yarn shop, Yarn Etc. in Harrogate, is one of the shops that's got the pins. It's part of the initiative, and I got mine, yay! So they did a competition. The first person to get 10 got prizes, and one of them actually came into Yarn Etc. last week, just before I did, and got her 10th. So yeah. There's lots of people out chasing them, but basically you can get them from any one of 50 shops, I believe. No, not 50 shops. There's 42 shops, which, as a Douglas Adams fan, Life, the Universe and everything, the fact they've chosen 42 shops is very exciting to me. And each shop has 50 pins, that's it. So they may have all gone, I don't know. But that's the initiative. They're on Instagram, and they're talking about, what do you get from a yarn shop? And, they're so right. There's so many things we get. So that's something new for me. I haven't done pins before. I know a lot of knitters are very into pins. I'm not. It doesn't sit very well on this because my bag's a bit soft. Maybe if I had a harder canvas kind of bag, it would fit better. I don't have one, so I'll think of something better to do with it. But for now, it's sat there. Something else new. when you get into a new craft, what do you need to do? Buy a book. So I bought that. Hot knots. Don't know how useful it's going to be yet. I really wanted just to learn a few new knots. There's YouTube tutorials for everything you can imagine. The table runner I was talking about, the plant hangers, everything. But I just wanted some stuff about some different knots that I can try out, maybe just with those key rings, and maybe just with my daughter. So it's got project ideas in it, and the knots you use to make them. It looks quite good. Oh, sorry. Whenever I'm recording, I always seem to have an itchy nose. Don't know why. So yeah, lots and lots of fun projects and ideas, from the sort of classic plant holder to jewellery. I'm not particularly interested in making jewellery myself, but yeah, so that's quite fun. It only came a couple of days ago, and I wasn't very well yesterday. I was in bed all day yesterday with a chronic headache. Oh, that's interesting. Fringe appeal. Can you see that fringe on there? That's quite nice, isn't it? So yeah, it talks about the different knots involved, and yeah, that's quite exciting. Christmas is 10 weeks away. 10 weeks today. Very excited about that. I love Christmas. I love the build up to it. I love making all the presents. I love giving all the presents. I love the food. I love the family. Just spending time with the family, doing things that we only do at Christmas. I love it. It really is a wonderful season for me. So there's going to be a bit of a countdown here. I've got quite a lot of presents done already. I might do a count up of what I've done and what I haven't. So a roundup of other little things. Been a bit of talk this week. There's a couple of podcasts I've watched which have talked about imperfect gifts. Starry Eyes Ali on her great podcast, Little Drops Are Wonderful, was talking about she'd made a pair of socks and she wanted to give them to somebody, but she was this person she wanted to give it to was a much more experienced sock knitter than her, and she was a bit worried about that. And Dolbelly on Dolbelly Knits had mentioned about giving imperfect gifts as well, and I just wanted to chat about that really, because I think giving a gift, when you receive a gift, particularly if it's a handmade gift, there are people who appreciate it and there are people who don't, and there's no disrespect to those who don't, and I think this is often called being knitworthy. It's how I use the term knitworthy, in that if you are knitworthy, for me that means that if I were to spend time knitting, and it's knit rather than crochet because knitting takes a lot longer for me, if I knit something or I make something for you, will you fully appreciate it? And almost all crafters, I would probably say all crafters, are knitworthy because they understand what's gone into making it. That's not to say that non-crafters are not knitworthy, because huge numbers of them are. But for me, it's just about whether they fully appreciate it. Now, let me give you an example. My brother-in-law, he saw the blanket that I'd made here, you know, this corner-to-corner blanket, and he'd said that he would be quite interested in having a blanket for his bed, so it would be a double quilt size blanket. I worked out that would cost me £60 to £80 in yarn, and then obviously a lot of time in the making. And I decided in the end not to do it, and the reason is this: I love my brother-in-law and he's a lovely guy, but if I were to spend £60 to £80 on CDs for him or books or anything else like that and then give it to him, or if I were to spend £60 to £80 on yarn and make him something, I don't think he would appreciate the difference. And that's not because he's a bad person by any means, it's because he doesn't craft, he doesn't understand the ins and outs. And why would he? You know, I mean, I don't know anything about fly fishing or, you know, lots of other hobbies and sports, so why would he know anything about crochet? But he wouldn't understand what has gone into making that. So I'd be happier to spend some money on him for CDs. But then there's my hubby, who doesn't knit or crochet, but he knows what's involved because he sees me knitting and crocheting. He knows how much love and thought and care goes into it. And he I would make something for. So Knitworthy is not a judgment in the sense of you're a bad person if you're not. But coming back to the original point, if somebody gave me something they had made, I would be totally delighted by it, and I would not for a moment be looking at the imperfections and is it finished right, and is it perfect. It wouldn't cross my mind. I would just be aware immediately of the love and care that had gone into making it. Giving imperfect gifts is still giving love, and nobody's perfect. So that's my view on that. The other thing, I think I'm almost done actually. Told you the first retreat's in 4 weeks. I've still got 2 spaces left on that if anybody's interested in a 3-night break in Yorkshire with lots and lots of gorgeous food and gorgeous giveaway bags without bottoms, that kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, I'd have given you the email address for that, the website address for that. So, I'm all done. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Happy crafting. Thank you for getting right to the end with me. You long sufferers, thank you for coming again, and you new people, well done. You made it. So, if you like the video, click the thumbs up, subscribe, all that kind of normal stuff. And a reminder that if you're interested in finding out more about any of the people or the podcasts or the patterns or anything that I've mentioned, just click on the link down below. It will take you straight across to Ravelry, where there'll be all the stuff. If you're not a Ravelry user already, just make up a username, make up a password, and just go in and just look at the list of things, and you can get all the patterns you want from there. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Happy crafting. Bye.